This is Thanos. Hello. Most known for his role in the Avengers movie and famously has the ability to teleport across dimensions. I've always wanted to recreate this effect, and I've also wondered what would happen if Thanos accidentally teleported to the wrong universe. I know Disney is never gonna make that happen, so I thought fine.
I'll do it myself.
First, we need somewhere to film. I wasn't sure which location from the Star Wars universe to use for this, but they all look too expensive to pull off, so I'll go for the free Norwegian mountains instead. I've already recreated a Star Wars scene here, so it's only fitting. I headed out into the wilderness, and not long after, we arrived at the beautiful location. It's been raining for the past week, so it's all basically like a swamp now, so our feet are gonna get so wet. It turned out wet feet would be the least of our problems, because after a few minutes of filming, it started pouring. After around 10 minutes, the rain stopped and we could finally continue filming, until... this sucks. This happened like 6 more times, making our shoot take around 2 hours. It even started hailing at one point. But eventually, I got the shots I needed and headed home to start working on the video. The first thing we need is a 3D model of Thanos. But what exactly is a 3D model? Well, simply put, it's a bunch of grids connected to make up a 3-dimensional object. Pretty much every character, object, or environment you see in a movie that isn't real is a 3D model. And for movies, they're often made out of millions of individual grids. But how do I make one of Thanos? I could use ZBrush for this, which is a 3D sculpting software. But becoming good enough at it to make a convincing Thanos model will take years. That's not really on my schedule, so instead, I'm gonna see if I can find one online that I can buy. There are a lot available, but most looked a little... unique? But then I found this. Perfection. There was only one problem, but I figured it was better than spending a year learning how to make one myself, so I just closed my eyes and hit purchase.
Yeah, I'm overzealous when I'm thinking about the cash.
I could also buy the portal, but creating simulations is what I have spent years learning, so I'm gonna make it myself and try getting it to match the movie as closely as possible. I start by creating a classic donut shape. I then make it jiggle by adding some noise and turn it into points. I add a bunch of velocity noise to the points before turning them into a volume that I feed into a smoke simulation, which gives us this. Not quite there yet, but I have a trick, which is using this suction force to suck all the smoke into a single point, and if we add some turbulent wind to the simulation, we get a pretty decent result. I then spend a few hours fine-tuning the simulation, crank up the quality, and hit simulate. It was time to retire this poor thing and invest in the computer I've been dreaming about since I started with VFX 8 years ago. I ordered all the parts, put it all together, or rather I watched as my father-in-law did most of the work, and I turned it on for the very first time, really hoping it would work. Hey. Oh. It did not. We had to spend the night troubleshooting, but eventually we finally got it working. So I jumped right back into the shot and cranked the smoke quality to a crazy high number, giving my computer a proper warm welcome. But it handled it without issues, and just wait until you see the quality of this simulation. And I could not be more excited about this computer. It really is the Avengers of components assembled into my dream workstation. And I'm gonna push it to its limits with crazy simulations in future videos. So make sure you subscribe to catch that, and also feel free to leave a comment suggesting what I should create with it next. Time to bring Thanos to life with some animation, and as I've admitted in previous videos, I'm probably the worst animator alive. So let's use motion capture instead. Motion capture is simply put transferring the motion from a person onto a 3D character. It's used a ton in movies because nothing looks more real than actual human motion. Usually though, they have to use giant stages with a bunch of cameras to capture the motion. But for us common people, there luckily exist affordable suits where that's not needed, like my motion capture suit from Rococo. It has internal tracking sensors, so I can just put it on along with some gloves, which really makes me feel like a cyborg. And boom, we have working motion capture. I use it to capture all the animation I need for my video, but also get a little distracted playing around with it. Lastly, I remapped the skeleton from my Rococo character to my Thanos skeleton in Houdini, do some quick face animation, add some grass so the feet blend in better, and it's done. By the way, I managed to hook you guys up with a discount code, and don't tell them I told you this, but if you use it alongside their indie bundle discount, you get almost 50% off. The next step is adding Thanos' weapon, which I do some simple animation for and parent to his hand. And after adding some lights, I hit render and wait patiently. I'm not gonna spoil the plot of what happens when Thanos meets a Jedi, but let's just say I took Thanos' advice.
You should have gone for the head.
Cutting off a head in 3D is quite simple. You just put a cube through the neck and use a boolean modifier for the cut. I then found this meat texture online and assigned it to the neck. Totally anatomically wrong, but it does the trick. Next, I'm gonna use some soft body dynamics to simulate the head rolling on the ground. For this, it's better to use a low resolution version of the head for the simulation itself, so I remesh it until it looks like a PlayStation 1 character. I give it some initial velocity, which is the speed and direction the head will be thrown in, and hit simulate. I do this a bunch of times until it lands in the perfect location. I then just have to swap it out for the original head, add some grass, and I also do a smoke simulation for the burnt meat. The final step is adding an HDRI light source and hit render. This is $100,000, and with it you can buy 400,000 bananas, or maybe 500 bikes. But what you could also use it for is to make your creative dreams come to life. And what if I told you that this year Artlist is actually offering that opportunity with their 100k fund? That's right, you could literally win $100,000 to use for the idea you've been itching to turn into a reality. All you have to do to enter is post a video to your socials explaining what your $100,000 idea is. Then tag Artlist and use the hashtag Artlist100k fund, and that's it. Artlist will then go through the ideas and select their favorite. Just make sure you do it before August 14th.
And speaking of Artlist, do you notice something different about my voice?
Well, I sure hope so, because I just completely changed it using the new voice-to-voice feature that Artlist just dropped, which is just one of the many updates they've made to their AI tools. Their AI video model can now generate 4K video. They added an image-to-image tool, which lets you easily modify any image however you want with just a text prompt. Their text-to-voice model also got an update, making the voiceovers better quality with better delivery.
So you can get the perfect voiceover for your video.
You can now also add effects to your own voice,
So I can sound like a scary monster whenever I want.
Anyways, in addition to all of these updates, their sound effects and music library is ever growing, really making Artlist the go-to spot for any assets. As always, use the link in my description if you want 2 months for free, and thanks again to Artlist for being a supporter of the channel. Next, let's create the lightsaber. I filmed with the real handle, so all I really need to do is add a glowing line. I could do this entirely in 2D like I did for my last video, but since I'm gonna be fighting some droids in this video,
Oh no.
it's easier to do it in 3D for the interaction. I manually track each frame of the shot, making sure both the rotation and position matches the handle. I then find this droid model online, record some quick mocap for it, and add it to my scene. I used the same technique I used to slice Thanos' head off to slice the droid as the lightsaber passes through it. Afterwards, I set up a rigid body simulation network to make it collapse naturally. Since we now have the lightsaber in 3D space, it's easy to add some sparks and lighting from the lightsaber onto the droid. Like with the other shots, I add grass, which I'll finally show you how I blend with the footage right after this chapter text. Welcome back. Let's start by compositing all of the renders that we've prepared. And to do this, I'm gonna use Nuke 16, by far the best compositing software available. I start by adding all my renders. I then add a bunch of glow and lens effects to the lightsaber to make it come to life, add some light onto myself from it, and grade the droid. Now, here's where the grass comes in. I use it as a mat to blend in the droid, which really makes it feel like it's part of the footage. Next, let's do a shot with the portal. The render was looking a little boring, so I went back into Houdini and added some glowing particles and lightning inside of the portal. Back in Nuke, we can use the shuffle node to split all of these different passes out from one single render and color grade them individually to match the movie as closely as we can. I add the lightsaber to this shot as well and use the same treatment for all of the other shots too. suit. And with this, our video is pretty much done. The next step is to put on a suit and try not to cry as I marry the love of my life. And yes, I really managed to find someone who loves VFX as much as I do, which I have no idea how happened. She makes me better in ways I didn't know was possible, and I really can't wait to spend the rest of my life with you, Maria.
Now, let's get back to what really matters.
Adding some sound effects and music to our shot, courtesy of Artlist, and finally grading the results to give it a bit more of a filmatic look. With this, the video is done, and here are the results.
Roger, roger.
Ooh.